Welcome back, junk journalers, and welcome to my YouTube channel. This is Laura from Hyperstamper, and I've just finished my series of 10 new books for the week of July 23rd. And this is the first of the 10, and I'm going to do a quick run through for you, a little faster than normal. The cover of this book is done with some vintage jewelry, which is lovely, and a vintage piece of fabric, some lace here, and a vintage book from 1949. And on it is this beautiful antique decorated wooden piece that I pulled off of a very old dresser. I didn't do anything to it. This was the actual color. I love the cracks in it. It is fantastic. So I envy the person that gets this journal because it was a little tough to part with this decoration piece. I have more of these that you'll see in journals coming up as well. So let's get right to it. All of my pages in my books are antique and vintage authentic ephemera originals. The only ones that aren't are these tea-dyed pages. And I do that so that you have extra blank journaling pages to draw or paint on. So let's go through it real fast. This is just an old canasta score sheet and a tuck pocket here with a 1929 journaling page here. This is from an antique scrapbook. It was very brittle, so I taped that down with a little cluster here. Again, even all the clusters are made of antique and vintage ephemera. I have the lovely Mother Goose page here, and this is from a 1950s fashion magazine. It's actually from Germany, but the photos in it are just beautiful, so I did include those. From a children's storybook, Man's First Friend, which is about a little dog here. And I believe on the other page, we have a little adorable illustration there. Coming into this beautiful 1945 dictionary page with a bird on one side and some pretty flowers on the other. More clusters here with a vintage pattern. 2 vintage playing cards made from a pocket of an antique book. And you're going to see all these lovely little surprises here as you go through your book that I can't even show you in the time it takes to make the video. This is from an early 1900s book here. And this is vintage, from I think the 60s. It's an English wildflower book, but it was in such good condition. It was still pure white, so I tea-dyed an already old page just to give it some vintage color. And a nice receipt there. This is from again, that Lord Nelson book from the early 1900s, and this is from a 1922 school geography book. It is awesome, just lovely. I made this pocket out of an antique encyclopedia page, and we have here this beautiful antique postcard, and behind it is a page from the 1922 book Emerald Isle, which is an antique Irish poetry book, and it's lovely. So you get to keep that or journal on it. Vintage stamp here. I made this out of a vintage sewing pattern, and this is from a vintage recipe book all about salads. Isn't that hilarious? So yeah, whack of salad recipes there. This came from that 1930s decoration book, Interior Design. That was in the last week's series. And this here is from the original book called The Egyptian. And this would have been a Book of the Month Club back in the 60s. So it's vintage, but I thought it should stay with the book because it's been with it for, 65 years. So let's just keep it with it. I just made this little flip up here out of my antique scrap paper. And this fun page here, there's 2 of them, is hints on good housekeeping. How funny is that? So just indicative of the time. That's another one of those antique scorecard card playing scores. And this is from the 1938 French Almanac there. And this one is August the 1st, 1938, and August the 2nd on the other side. Absolutely fantastic find there for you. And I made the pocket out of all kinds of antique ephemera here as well. And a 1950s vintage recipe page book. Look at all the little tarts. Isn't that awesome? Love, love, love my recipe colored pages. And a 1951 yearbook page from a university. and another vintage doily. And oh, this is from an artist's book from the 1950s. And this one is Hals, H-A-L-S. That's the artist on those prints there. Just another little flip pocket here for journaling on. And some lace. Magic Garden, which has its own publisher's images on it. And look at this wonderful spread here. Look at that. 1947 Theater Arts magazine. And then in here I have an antique ledger, accountant's ledger page. Isn't that wonderful? I just love it. It's very old. I want to say it's from the 20s or 30s. There we go. And in this nice little pocket here on a vintage dictionary page is just a page from a 1950s sewing magazine. How to sew. But look at these awesome. The best colors for your type. Is that fun? I just love it. And that brings us to the back of the book. Oh, back here, Song of the Spirit here. And this is a vintage, I think it's a bridge scorecard, and it's full. So, well, not full, but it's full of paper. Some of it's gone, but that's like a whole little notebook for you to use. So there you go. That is going to be on Etsy. Visit my Etsy shop at etsy.com/shop/Hyperstamper with a capital H, and subscribe so that you get to see the journals before they go on Etsy. I hope you'll follow me. Bye for now.